Under everyone's gaze, we came before the priest. Just as the priest was holding the book and preparing to ask us questions, my son next to him said to the groom, "Brother, are you really going to marry my mother?" In this already quiet church, my son's childish voice echoed throughout the church. The groom stared at my son in a daze. I stared at my son in a daze. The priest stared at my son in a daze. All the relatives and friends present stared at my son in a daze. The church was even quieter at this time, and it seemed that I could hear everyone's heartbeat. "Brother, you should call me Dad from now on, because I will marry your mother. You are my biological brother. Why should I call you Dad?" My son raised his head and looked at the groom next to him in confusion. I was standing aside, and although it was not hot in this early summer, my whole body was soaked with sweat. The groom, standing in the center, held my hand tightly, and the sweat on his hands had already flowed onto my hands. Why did such a scene happen? Why did the groom's younger brother become his son? The story started 8 years ago. That summer I graduated from university and came to Shenzhen to work because I couldn't find a good job. With my education and appearance, I easily found a family business. I knew that with my education, I was nothing in the city of Shenzhen. The HR manager who recruited me didn't take me seriously. When he was about to ask me to leave, suddenly a middle-aged man in his 40s came to me. The HR manager who recruited me immediately stood up respectfully and said, "Chairman Wang, you are here too. I am recruiting employees according to your requirements." When I was about to leave in frustration, I looked up and saw the eyes of Boss Wang. Boss Wang was looking at me. He took my resume, asked me some questions and said to me, "This is my business card. Come to work in my company tomorrow." I felt incredible. I didn't expect things to turn out so unexpectedly. I immediately shook my head and said, "Thank you, Chairman Wang." The next day, I found the company's address according to the address on the business card. It was an electronics factory in Futian district with a large area. When I arrived at the door, the security guard asked me what I was doing. I explained the situation to the security guard, and the security guard immediately took me to a building inside the company and took me to the 3rd floor, to a door, and stood at attention and reported. "Reporting to Chairman Wang, Miss Lee is here." After that, he immediately turned around and went downstairs. When I arrived at the door, Chairman Wang had already come to me, shook my hand and said, "Welcome, Miss Lee, to join our company. Please take a seat. I have prepared your office for you, just outside my office, and you will be my secretary. I wonder if Miss Lee feels honored. In addition, I have arranged a room for you next to the office as your bedroom. It's my honor to work under Chairman Wang, but this is my first time working here, and I don't know if I can do a good job." Chairman Wang still held my hand tightly, and I felt a little pain. "It is an honor for our company to have such a top student come to work. Miss Lee is so modest. In order to welcome Miss Lee to join our company, I have instructed the office to book the largest entertainment hall in the Dynasty Hotel. All middle-level and above cadres will attend in the evening to welcome Miss Lee." I felt incredible. A working girl like me was received so grandly by Chairman Wang, I felt a little flattered. Then Chairman Wang asked someone to send me a few sets of clothes, saying that I should change into high-end clothes, and said there were 2 sets of evening uniforms for tonight's banquet, and asked a female employee to take me to the bedroom to dress up. I accompanied the female employee to the bedroom. Wow! There was everything in it, including a television, air conditioner, bed, dressing table, and all kinds of perfumes I had never seen before. There was also a bathroom. I took a nice bath and put on the uniform I was going to wear at night. The uniform fit me well, but my chest was very exposed. I felt a little embarrassed. I was about to change it, but the employee who came with me told me that such evening uniforms were popular here, and I would get used to them after a long time. Besides, it was arranged by Chairman Wang, and he hoped that I would wear it. I had no choice but to put it on as required. In the evening, a black car came to my door. Chairman Wang got out of the car and invited me to a banquet. I got into the car and arrived in front of a hotel in the city. A hotel security guard came to open the car door and bowed and said, "Chairman Wang, please." I followed Chairman Wang into the hotel, and immediately a lady came to invite us to a door. When we opened the door, there were already many people sitting inside. When they saw Chairman Wang go out, they immediately stood up to greet him. Chairman Wang brought me to the table, looked at everyone and said, "Tomorrow, I will solemnly introduce to you Miss Li Yanwan, a top student who graduated from a certain university. Starting tomorrow, she will join our company and be my secretary. I hope you will support her work in the future." Everyone applauded warmly. Chairman Wang motioned for everyone to sit down and then introduced everyone present to me one by one. The last person, the one sitting next to me, caught my attention. He was Chairman Wang's son, named Wang Hao. He had just returned from studying abroad and served as the company's vice chairman. When my eyes moved to him, he was looking at me. In the following banquet, everyone came to toast me, because I had never drunk before, but I dared not drink. I looked at Chairman Wang. Chairman Wang told me that a little red wine was fine and said that, as his secretary, I should learn to drink. I had to drink. After a few glasses, I felt dizzy. At this time, I heard a loud voice. "Drinking with female comrades is not a tough guy. I toast everyone on behalf of Miss Li." I could tell from the voice that it was Wang Hao's voice. I shook my head gratefully. After hearing what Wang Hao said, everyone left me and started drinking with him. After a while, I saw that Wang Hao had almost drunk too much and was staggering when he walked. At this time, Chairman Wang said that the drinking was over and the dance began. Then the music started and everyone started dancing. Chairman Wang made a gesture to invite me. I followed Chairman Wang into the dance floor. Everyone applauded. I was dazed and looked up to see Wang Hao sitting in the corner, looking at me silently, but I didn't dare to go to him because of Chairman Wang's tolerance. Maybe it was because I drank too much. I suddenly felt my heart churning. My head seemed to get bigger. Beads of sweat poured over my body. I felt dizzy and fell into Chairman Wang's arms. When I woke one day, my husband went out of the province to discuss business, and Wang Hao was in charge of the work at home. After get off work, Wang Hao came home and came to my room to chat with me again, talking about the company's situation and world current affairs. It happened to be the World Cup period beforehand, and he talked about football with me. Although I didn't understand, I always felt happy when I saw him, so I accompanied him to watch football. It was very late at night, and I fell asleep on the sofa unknowingly. When I woke up in a daze, I found that Wang Hao was holding me and stroking me with his hands. I felt hot all over, pretending not to wake up. His touch became more powerful, my breathing began to short, and he began to kiss me. I hugged him tightly and catered to his kiss. He began to undress me. After this time, we would do it quietly whenever we had the chance. Soon I got pregnant. My husband was very happy, but I was suspicious. Whose child was it? Was it my husband's or Wang Hao's? I was suspicious, but didn't dare to say anything. In my fear, the little life was finally born. Fortunately, the child looked like my husband and Wang Hao because they looked very similar. But I knew that if I continued like this with Wang Hao, I would be exposed one day. So, after giving birth to my son, I gradually distanced myself from Wang Hao and tried to find him a partner everywhere, but he just didn't agree. I often told Wang Hao quietly that he should get married. It was impossible for us because I was his stepmother, even though I was 2 years younger than him. But he just didn't say anything. Life went on like this, and my son gradually grew up. My husband saw that the child was very cute, and gradually shifted his focus to the child, and gradually transferred the burden of the company to Wang Hao. He only took care of major matters and made decisions, and only received important guests. My husband and I often took the child out for walks, to see the sea, to the park, and to the street, gradually shifting our focus to the child and husband. However, last winter, because a major guest came, Wang Hao asked my husband to accompany the guest, and I stayed at home to take care of the children. Just as I coaxed the child to sleep, I received a call from Wang Hao, saying that my husband was in the hospital for emergency treatment. I rushed to the hospital. My husband was covered in blood and had already fainted. He had tubes inserted all over his body. I asked Wang Hao what happened. Wang Hao told me Dad was preparing to go home after accompanying the guest. As soon as the car left the hotel entrance, a car from the opposite side drove towards him and hit Dad's car. Dad fainted on the spot. I asked the doctor to save my husband, but the doctor shook his head and said that his brain was actually dead. Only his heart was beating, and there was no hope of survival. I sat there in a daze, not knowing what to do. The next morning, my husband's body gradually became cold and his face was pale. I quickly called the doctor, and the doctor came over and said that my husband had passed away. I threw myself on my husband and cried bitterly. After my husband's funeral, Wang Hao, my son and I were the only ones at home. During the day, Wang Hao went to the company and I was alone at home. My son went to school. I suggested that I go to work, and Wang Hao agreed to my request, asking me to be the vice chairman and general manager, and Wang Hao to be the chairman. In this way, we went to work together every day, and came back together in the evening, or accompanied guests together, or went on business trips together. On Friday nights, we went to pick up our son together, just like a family again. Although I had a little thought in my heart, I didn't dare to think about it any more when I thought that I was Wang Hao's stepmother. One day, I was watching television in my room. Wang Hao pushed the door open and suddenly hugged me and said, "Huanzi, marry me, but I am your mother. No matter what you call me, he is your brother," I said with tears in my eyes. "I don't care, you know. I fell in love with you the first time I saw you, but my father took you away, so I could only love you silently. Since we had physical contact, I love you even more. I know you are gradually distancing yourself from me and introducing me to someone because you are my stepmother. Now, your father has passed away, and you should get married. However, you are only 28 years old, 2 years younger than me. You should have a happy family and a man who loves you. I am the man who loves you. Marry me, and I will make you happy." After saying that, he hugged me tighter and began to kiss and caress me crazily. Under his touch, my already fragile defense collapsed in an instant, and we rolled all the way. The following Saturday, Wang Hao and I took our son's hand to the park to play. On the grass, I asked my son if I could marry my brother. He looked at me and Wang Hao innocently and said yes. Wang Hao hugged me and my son and smiled happily. In the evening, I hugged Wang Hao and told him my confusion whether our son was ours or not. I informed him of the situation in advance. The next day, we took our son to do a paternity test. A week later, the result came out. Sure enough, our son was Wang Hao's. Wang Hao hugged our son and kissed him. However, the trouble came again. How should we inform our son that he is his brother's son? Wang Hao told me that we should inform him when our son grows up, as he is still young. So we started to prepare for the wedding. Because Wang Hao had lived abroad for many years, he liked the church wedding style, and I agreed, so we got married in the Western way. This absurd love story will be forever engraved in my heart.